Yeah, perfect. Okay. Yeah, thank you for the introduction, Roman, and thank you also for having me today. I hope I can give you a good overview over the topic, and I'm also looking forward to a nice discussion in the end of the presentation. So yeah, the topic, as mentioned by Roman, is what does it mean to have a circular built environment? And I'm going to focus on the German Sustainable Building Council, also DGNB, to give an intro to the system, also showing a bit their approaches in general regarding the circular economy, and yeah, talk through the different systems. I think that I'm here today is also part of that we are part of the Ukrainian Green Building Council. We were a founding member in 2023, and basically the whole mission of the Ukrainian Green Building Council is to implement and develop the advanced innovative solutions in the field of sustainability and green buildings in the Ukraine. Yeah, that's just as an intro and to explain why I'm here. Just a quick intro to myself. I studied infrastructure management and urban planning, and since 2022, I work for Buro Happold. Buro Happold is an international engineering and consultancy office with offices all over the world. And as I'm usually based in Berlin, soon moving to Munich, but as we're so international, I had the great opportunity to have a secondment in our London's office, and there I could focus a bit more on the circular economy and whole life carbon assessment, which was a great opportunity, especially because London is quite ambitious regarding circular economy, also setting quite good standards regarding circular economy in the construction environment. I'm also currently working on the Urban Sea Lab, which is an internal think tank. And in that think tank with my team partner, Kitty, we are focusing on circular cities and also to see how we can basically strengthen bigger thinking and system thinking in our circular projects, and also like sustainability strategies that we are often involved in. So that's just as a quick intro to me. Basically, what I'm going to do in this presentation is giving a quick intro to the circular economy, our understanding of that, and then an overview on the German Sustainable Building Council, then also mentioning the different certification systems and the different scales, always with the focus on circular economy. And so that it isn't too dry or boring, I will try to also always showcase some best practices that we were, projects that we were involved with as Buro Happold. And then in the end, also some potentials outside of the certification system that might be interesting for you. As a introduction to the circular economy, basically the European Commission was giving these numbers and rough context to the circular economy, basically saying that the built environment has a significant impact on many sectors of the economy, and it requires a vast amounts of the resources, and also accounts for like 50% of all extracted materials. It also, the construction sector also is responsible for over 35% of the EU's total waste generation, and also is the reason for lots of greenhouse gas emissions from material extraction, manufacturing of construction products, as well as the construction itself, and also renovation of buildings. And this is estimated at the moment at like 5 to 12%, which is quite significant. So basically what the EU Commission is also saying that a greater material efficiency could save up to 80% of these emissions. So there's a big potential to be more material efficient and reduce these emissions caused by the built environment. Another interesting number is maybe that the global economy is at the moment only 7.2% circular. So there's still a big potential to increase this number. In general, I think every one of you is probably already aware of this, but just to make clear what we are meaning with the circular economy, basically this is a definition given by the London Plan Policy, saying that the circular economy is defined as the retention of material value for the longest time as possible. Also the integration of new ways of designing and building, operating, and also deconstructing the built environment. It should be like an efficient use of resources as well, of also considering energy, water, and land. And it basically includes a high level and especially long-term thinking. And the general goal is to switch from a linear economy, which is still often common use. I think already a lot is happening, but it still needs to transition to a really circular economy. The German Sustainable Building Council is an institution also considering lots of aspects of the circular economy. And that's why we're gonna dive in deeper a bit. Just here, a general introduction to the German Sustainable Building Council. I'll now just call it DGNB because that's a bit shorter. The DGNB is a non-profit association with the goal to support the transformation of the construction and real estate industry to a more sustainable and also climate conscious industry. It has different focus topics, offering on the one hand side networking of all the members and bringing different organizations together. There's also the part of the academy, like the knowledge sharing and teaching, where different courses can be undertaken, also focusing on circular economy, for example, but also to become a DGNB auditor or consultant. Some courses can be taken there. And then the third part is the certification system itself. Giving different systems for the different users and levels of the DGNB. Basically, the DNA of the whole DGNB system is to consider the whole life cycle of projects. Basically always considering and keeping in mind that the project is not just built for a while, but it also needs to be considered what is happening after the use stage of the project. So they try to strengthen that approach of holistic thinking and life cycle assessment. And then the third part is also the performance orientation. So evaluating basically the performance of the different projects, and that's where the certification is especially coming in. Some of you may be wondering why it makes sense to consider a certification system. And basically the DGNB says like that it's a good optimization tool to increase the real sustainability of buildings and districts. It's also considering the whole life cycle, as already mentioned, not only the life cycle itself, but also the life cycle costing, so also the economic side of things, which will enable a value retention and also investment security. Another advantage of the system is that all the standardizations and legislations are considered, so it also gives some planning security to a project. And then there's also this internationally recognition, basically. For now, I think the DGNB is in over 30 countries, or the system was used in over 30 countries, which is quite significant. On the left-hand side, you can see basically all the stages that the system comes in. So from the planning phase, basically, to the construction and operation phase, and also to the end of the life of buildings. There are different systems considering like specifics for each phase of the project. So no matter in which phase basically your project is, a certification can be undertaken, and you can also get an official certification of the DGNB. In general, all of the different levels are considering mainly the environmental quality, the economic quality, also the social and functional quality, and the technical and process quality. So these are basically the 5 qualities that are considered in like the building certification. There's also a site quality coming in, having a look at the site criteria where the building is located. But in general, these 5 focus topics are quantified on different levels. In general, the DGNB is trying to focus on people, putting that's why there are so many social criteria also coming in. Then there is the circular economy, which is definitely also one of the main topics that, as I will tell you later on, is considered on different levels. In general, the goal is also to have a high design and architectural quality, but at the same time also considering all the sustainable development goals that were defined, and the EU conformity is already also something that is, of course, considered. And there's also the opportunity to get some innovation points when the project is quite innovative, and DGNB is quite open to give more points and boni for that, basically. Just to give a quick overview how the certification system looks like. Basically, here are all the criteria listed. I think this one was now from the renovation one, but just so you see, there are usually over 30 different criteria, and these criteria are basically rated after the relevance of factor. So each criteria has another relevance factor, and in the end, there's the total result of depending on how all these criteria are fulfilled. These are basically the performances that can be achieved. So from platinum over gold and silver, these are the options. Depending on the total performance index, which is achieved following all these different criteria and points in that. The circular economy is our main topic today, of course. And basically, this diagram is showing that the circular economy has an impact on different criteria in the system. So as well as it considers the ecological part, it also impacts the economic, but also technical and process qualities, and the location too. So basically the DGNB tries to ensure that the material cycles are ready for later reuse and further use in accordance with the cradle-to-cradle philosophy. And it tries to support the approach for a forward-looking product development. Which is why these circularity aspects are considered on different levels. Here are some of the main criteria sets that are existent at the moment. So there's the new construction one. So for all new buildings, this criteria set can be considered. Then there's one for the renovation of buildings. So even if the building is existent, but if there's a bigger rejuvenation or refurbishment happening, this can be certified. Also in use buildings can still be certified. There the criteria set is a bit stripped down compared to the other one. Not only buildings can be certified in the end, but also a whole district. So from a district is basically a bigger area than 2 hectares, and from that size on, a whole district can also be certified. That they basically also considers more district relevant topics and doesn't go as deep into technical topics as the building certification system. And then another one, which is I guess, quite interesting and also quite new is the deconstruction of buildings. Basically also trying to quantify the potentials that lie in deconstruction of a building and supporting that reuse and recycling options are considered through the demolition phase. Yeah, these are the main topics. For today, we're going to focus a bit more on these four fields because I think those are the most relevant and interesting for you. And basically, I'm also going to showcase now how the circular economy is impacting the certification and give some bonus fields in the different criteria sets. Yeah, the new construction of buildings has like these 6 qualities, as I've already mentioned. Oh, I'm just seeing I put in the German one. Apologies for that, but I think it's quite similar to the English one in the end. So it's the one I've mentioned earlier already. So basically, the ecological, the economic, and social quality are the main focus areas of this the system. But the technical, the process, and also the location qualities are also considered in the system. In the system, there's a whole criteria called like the circular construction. And the goal of this criteria is to create a real circular economy and to enable stakeholders to actually minimize the consumption of natural resources. Therefore, yeah, the material efficiency should be increased, and it is the goal to support a loss-free recycling of materials and to support that actual concepts are developed that might enable like material storage or urban mining throughout the whole project phase and giving a documentation to that. There are some minimum requirements in the criteria. This is quite interesting because there's the newest version of the system, which was published 2023. The older version is 2018, and there was already quite a jump in the ambition, also especially in the circular economy. So in this case, the minimum requirements are a lot more ambitious than from the old system. Basically, it is required to demonstrate circular aspects in the project, and therefore, for example, a dismantling strategy must be developed already at the beginning of the project. So they want to make sure that already at the beginning of the project, it is considered how the building can be dismantled at the end of life. Also, if there is an existing building on the site, basically a pre-demolition or some kind of a pre-demolition audit must be undertaken. So this is basically to also showcase why the existing building needs to disappear, kind of, and why a new building is needed. And therefore, yeah, there's this kind of pre-demolition audit. And then there's another minimum requirement, which is the resource pass. This is basically, it gives lots of points for that in the DGNB certification system. But basically, this requirement of doing a resource pass is coming from the EU taxonomy, which often impacts most of the projects we are involved in. So basically, that also can be considered as a minimum requirement. Yeah, the main aspects of this criterion is, yeah, the site and inventory analysis and prior to partial or total demolition. Then also the consideration of the demolition of the existing buildings, if applicable, so just if there is an existing building. And then considering the circular construction on all the planning phases. So they want to make sure that from the very beginning, through the different planning stages, the circular economy and the circular construction is supported and considered. There are also some targets that are defined. So basically, there's the moderate quota or the high quota. So the DGNB is also trying to specifically quantify some of the the targets or figures. So for example, the origin of materials, or also in general, the reduction and recycling of construction waste or recyclability are quantified here, and depending on what the project actually reaches, different points can be given in the system. As already mentioned, the DGNB not only considers material efficiency within the circular economy, but also the aspects of energy, land use, and water cycles, for example. So here, just all the circular economy bonus listed that are considered in the new construction site. So basically, the water cycles are supported. So if there is a rainwater or grey water use in the project, there are some extra points that can basically increase the whole result in the end. Then also the land use, of course, like unsealing surfaces is quite a good advantage, or is supporting the sustainability of the project, and also cleaning up when the land use is contaminated, just to increase the quality and to get rid of pollutants in the project. Then the economic factors. This is the life cycle costing mainly. So that the life cycle costing is in general considering all the different stages, also regarding costs. And there's a minimum reuse of 80% of the materials, which is already quite ambitious, but this is, for example, giving extra points in the system, as well as this resource pass or material passport. As I already mentioned, in a DGNB system, it's not definitely needed, but because of the EU taxonomy, it basically needs to be done in lots of projects. So the resource and material passport has the advantage that all the materials in the project are catalogued, and there's a database accessible, giving an overview over all the different materials in the project, as well as the quantities and qualities of the material. Then also the value stability. It is, for example, an advantage if the project is also including stakeholders that are actively part of the circular economy, for example, a repair cafe or different points. If that's included in the project, that can also be a bonus point. Then in the documentation, there are, as already mentioned, also the resource path again, but also, for example, the use of building information modeling can be an advantage, as from that lots of data can be used for the material passports in the end, and also to follow up on all the materials that are included in the project. Then there are also the site criteria. These are, of course, always a bit hard to change. So basically, in this case, there are circular aspects like the considering the food system as well. So the urban farming or repair cafes can be a positive impact for the project. I think quite interesting are the tech criteria too, because here the energy systems are considered. So basically the main points are around renewable energies, and also not only considering the building itself, but basically putting the building into a wider context in the district is considered here. And then in general, the circular construction, as already mentioned before, there are different targets that can be achieved, and basically they're the reuse and recycling potentials that are supported in the system. Last but not least, and there's the process quality too. So basically supporting all the different circularity aspects throughout the processes is one of the bonus topics here. So it can be an advantage if already like different concepts as a waste concept are implemented at the very beginning. I know this was now quite long, so I'm gonna be a bit shorter in the other criteria sets. This is just that the the new construction criteria set is the most ambitious one, which is why it's a good showcasing of the circular economy aspects in that. Here we have one project that Buro Happold was working on. It's the Edge Südkreuz building in Berlin. I think for now it's still the highest certified building in Germany, and it also received a DGNB diamond, which is basically given if there is a high architectural quality. The interesting point here regarding circular economy is basically that it was developed on a brownfield, so there was a land recycling happening. The whole structure of the building is a timber hybrid system, and the system is usually like a composite system, but it can be separated. So this is definitely supporting the circular economy. And also they try to have like a kind of a test demolition to test the scree system, which is a timber hybrid system, and see how it can be demolished. So to make sure that in the end of the life cycle, the separation of the different materials is possible. And also like dismantling instructions have been created. So giving clear instructions, what needs to happen in the end of the life cycle. Also, this was one of the pilot projects, and in general, and also for us, because it was using the material passport platform Modesta. So with a BIM system, with a BIM model, they collected all the materials in the building and provided these material passports. Other than that, I think for circular economy, it's maybe also interesting that, for example, there are some floor coverings with recycled content, but I think otherwise there weren't any large recycled or reused components in the building. The next criteria set is the renovation certification. I think in general, it's following the same methodology that I already explained about a new build. So I'm gonna skip over most of these parts. Basically, it's also always supporting and giving boni for the consideration of these different circular economy aspects, as for example, also the material flow management, and giving storage capacities in the building as maybe the main aspect that is important here. Regarding mobility, I think that's something I haven't mentioned earlier. Here, the system also supports if sharing parking spaces are, for example, given. So if there's like micro mobility, like scooters or bikes, but also car sharing vehicles, that's also like an advantage in the system. I think I'm just gonna skip to the example already. So this is the Ruby Luna, which is in Düsseldorf. We were also involved in the certification of this project. And I guess the most interesting part of it is, and also part why it got like the gold standard, is that it was a former office building which has been transformed to a luxury hotel. So the architects basically try to work with the existing and to transform the office building, which was from the 60s, into a new and modern hotel, showcasing basically that it is feasible to transform a building with a different use to another use, and to the current standards. I think this one was also quite highly nominated of like the hotel building of the year, because of this rejuvenation, because I think everyone in the industry was seeing the potentials of this. Coming to the district certification, this one is a bit, basically giving another another technical depth as the building system. And then here, like all the qualities are basically quantified in the same way. So also the process and technical qualities are rated the same as the environmental ones. Here mainly the different also water cycles in the whole district are considered. So yeah, also the use of processed or black water can be an advantage in giving a circular economy bonus point. Then there's like the resilience and adaptability. Yeah, where dismantling concepts are rated higher as if it's not existent. Then also the resource management and material recycling is one part, which is maybe a bit yeah, more holistic than in the building system, because here, yeah, the whole district is considered, and also the urban mining potentials can be a good point for the project and support the whole rating and performance. We also have an interesting project here, which is Luxberg in Berlin. It was developed by Helvetas and already received a Platinum District pre-certification, which is quite high. I think David Chipperfield was involved as an architect. And I think the main point is that the building, yeah, there were existing buildings on the site, and the concept was considering the preservation and sustainability of these buildings, and the focus of the whole development was the reuse of the existing and the restoration and repair of everything that was already on the site, always following the heritage requirements, which is of course also making the whole development quite difficult and challenging. Yeah, I think the main building materials that were reused were steel profiles, also old bricks. Also some glass elements could be recycled, or office system partition walls were there in quite a high quantity, which could be recycled in the new concept. Other than that, material and resource passes will be used in all different buildings. So this one is basically considering not only the district certification, but also the building certification, where these material passports are included. Another interesting project is the Spreepark, which is also here in Berlin. It's a former amusement park, and this should be transformed into a public park, which should be basically for recreation and leisure. The goal was here to open the area up again to the public, as it was locked for quite many years after the amusement park closed down. The general main principle of the whole development is to preserve the historical heritage and to use as many materials, as many of the existing structures and materials as possible, and also including like different stakeholders in the park. For example, like this wheel, the Ferris wheel, was already existent. It's also quite a significant mark of the site that's going to be reused, as well as some existing pathways or a roller coaster that will be transformed into an adventure trail. So basically here they are trying to have quite a soft development, considering lots of circular economy principles. And therefore it also received the new construction, no, sorry, not new construction. I'm sorry, I think I put the wrong, yeah, it's a park platinum certification, which is also a system that was specifically developed for this park, as the DGNB is giving the opportunity to also bring in new and innovative ideas, and then, yeah, have a more flexible system with that. The last point, or the last system basically, that I think is also relatively interesting, is the deconstruction of building certification. It's following the same principles as we have, but as we can see here, basically everything is around the circular economy. So considering all the material flows of the existing building when it is demolished, considering hazardous substances in the existing, and ensuring that the waste paths are clear for that. Also, all the economic aspects are mainly around reducing the risk and giving some cost certainty in the project. And yeah, here also I think the tech criteria are interesting because it's a recycling and disposal of materials and the separation and recycling. So here different points can be given following these criteria. This is quite a new system that I think I'm not aware of any like full certificates here. One of our projects that we are involved in received a pre-certificate. This is this project B1. This one is also aiming for a new construction certificate, and also received a pre-construction certificate already. So it's already on a good way to receive both. And basically the deconstruction certification is mainly because, I think the unique thing about this project is that this waste separation is quite ambitious, and more than 88% of the demolition waste was recycled. And also, like at the very beginning of the project, they've already clarified what is happening to different interiors of the building, which was there before, because the developer, which is like a bank in Berlin, they've already had the headquarters there and are now building a new building to show their development and also their green and sustainable ambition. But they've taken care of all the interiors and made sure where those are going. So basically all the waste streams and paths were followed, which is part of the certification system to focus on that. Basically, maybe what's the conclusion of all this? Basically, also the presentation today and in general was to show that the DGNB is giving good guidance on circular economy principles, and these can be included in the planning process. It also maybe added to that, and I'm going to show that on the next slide, is that the DGNB is also providing a circular economy toolbox where there's basically just a checklist of implementing circular strategies. So it's not necessarily needed to go for a certification, but it's also possible to follow the general guidance and strategies that are given by them. Part of the conclusion is also that, as you could see in the circular economy bonus, that they're trying to consider the circular economy quite holistically. So not only the material efficiency, but also the energy, water, and economic parts of it. And one of the main aspects that have happened also within the last year is the building resource passport. So the DGNB developed an own passport and database in which the information of a project can be collected, and all the information of the different building life cycles are collected. As I said, there's the circular toolbox, which is, I guess, worth it to have a look at it. I also added some links at the end of the presentation. So here's some basically general, there's some general guidance, what can be considered in the different phases to protect the resources and value existing, also to use recyclable materials in the new build project, and then also to secure the values in a long term, or considering the life cycle of the project. So I think this is a good guidance given by the DGNB. I know there are lots of other certification systems, so it's not the only one considering circular economy. But as I tried to show in this presentation, there are different approaches that are maybe interesting for you too. And the DGNB is also quite ambitious to always improve the guidance they're giving and support the knowledge sharing in this. So yeah, so I'm coming to the end. As I said, here are some links. I'm not sure if the presentation is going to be shared in the end, but you can find a lot of information materials on this. Yeah, thanks for your attention, and I hope this was a good overview. And yeah, I'm excited to hear your